at face value, we have to say it's presumably a degree of frustration on President Trump's side. He has been, and the White House has been messaging that they do expect a call of President Xi at some point very soon, maybe as soon as this week. One can only assume that the conditions for that call aren't being met by either side for one reason or another. But to your point, Damon, I mean, you're absolutely right. If you step back, we had the Geneva off-ramp. Sounded like there kind of a roadmap there for negotiations, but in truth, it didn't take long to run back into some problems. There's clearly confusion over what's going on with the rare earth supply out of China. That's obviously one side of it. On the US side, of course, they're restricting Chinese visas, continuing to push ahead with export controls on key software and technology to China. So, on paper, there was an agreement, we're going to talk trade, but actually both sides continue to kind of needle each other with these measures. So clearly frustration, I think, is what's going on.
Well, Andy, do you think it has something to do with what Vice Premier He Lifeng told his colleagues in Beijing, that President Trump appears to be ready to discuss, quote unquote, all major issues? And by that, I mean Taiwan. What are your thoughts there?
Well, both sides obviously talk to their domestic audience all the time. They both send their own messaging. As my understanding of this is that the trade negotiations are very much focused on merchandise goods and fentanyl. I haven't heard it being linked to other security topics, human rights issues, or Taiwan, for example, unless that has changed. The US has taken a pretty hawkish approach on that. So I would have thought this is fairly narrowly focused on some of the areas that President Trump wants to keep it on.
And I look at the moment, and if we can move from ADP here, futures at -3 and the yield space moving as you'd suggest, but not too much drama. 30-year bond in 5 basis points to 4.93. And the steel tariffs in China and the president's brutal tweet at 2 a.m. I mean, you're my expert on this. What is the incentive for Beijing to cooperate with the president of the United States? I don't see the incentive. Isn't their best idea to wait?
Well, certainly their manufacturing and their production side has taken some impact from the tariffs and the disruption and the rush to get goods out and then the rush to cancel orders and all the rest. So there has been some impact on the production side there, Tom. But broadly speaking, the Chinese economy is holding up. It hasn't taken the hit that some supporters of President Trump's trade policy would suggest it has. And to your point, China has some cards on its side too, not least, of course, the current supply of the refined rare earths, which is a key sticking point in all of this. One can only assume that President Trump is trying to accelerate this process, push it along, prod it along. He tried a similar tactic with the EU a couple of weeks ago. Remember when he threatened a big increase in tariffs, and then the EU came to the table with that phone call. Those tariffs went off the table and those negotiations continue. So again, you'd have to put this one in the bucket of negotiating tactics. But if it doesn't work out or play out the way President Trump thinks, then we're clearly back in the area of ongoing and deepening trade tensions yet again.
And the last question from me, any takeaways from the manufacturing data, the Caction survey, which basically declined in contrast to the official data over the weekend?
Yeah, I think it shows there's some pain on the manufacturing side there. They are suffering. And of course, remember, the coming months will be critical because if so much produce has already been made and ordered and sent out of China, then the thinking is that the order book will be thinner in the months ahead as we go into the key production and shipping season for China. So I think there's some pain being felt on the production side. There, no question about it.